Melissa Ambrosini is the best-selling author of Comparisonitis, Mastering Your Mean Girl, Open, Wide and PurposeFULL. She's the host of the top-rated podcast, The Melissa Ambrosini Show, a keynote speaker and entrepreneur. Named a self-help guru by Elle Magazine, her mission is to inspire others to unlock their full potential and live their dream life. With a deep commitment to empowering others to become the best version of themselves, Melissa believes that transformation is possible for everyone. She strives to inspire others to reclaim their power, step into their truth, and live with intention. When you move in the direction of your dreams, comparisonitis will not stop you. Melissa!
Hello, beautiful lady.
Wow, it is so wonderful to have you on the show and this topic, honey. I mean, I always start my podcast different, and I want to start this with what inspired you? And I read your story, but I want you to give it to the audience. What inspired you to write this book on comparison?
Well, like all of my books, they come from my own personal experience, my own personal struggle with whatever it is that I'm writing about. And this one in particular, my own personal struggle with comparison. And it's something that has been such a big part of my life. I used to be a professional dancer and I did acting and TV presenting. So I kind of grew up in an industry where comparison was so common. They would literally line you up in a room and compare you from one girl to the next girl, like right in front of you. And you can brush it off and say, you know, it just wasn't my time or it wasn't my opportunity. But after a while, that does begin to eat away at you. And for me, it led to anxiety, depression, eating disorder, and panic attacks. And I realized I had to do something about this and write about this topic from my own personal struggle. But then a few years ago, I had one of my best girlfriends take her own life. And she dealt with comparison on a very large scale for about 20 years. And I share a story in the book about how I was sitting on the toilet comparing myself to a New York Times best-selling author. And then I walk upstairs to my office and open an email. And there's an email from a beautiful lady named Kathy who wants to write her first book. And she was comparing herself to me. And I had this realization that we're all just comparing ourselves to everyone else. And social media is amazing. I wouldn't be able to connect. I wouldn't have connected with you if it wasn't for social media. Right. So it's amazing. And we need to remember some things that I talk about in the book, that it is the highlight reel. It's not the totality of someone's life. It is 15 seconds or it's one post. And so it's not a fair comparison. Yet so many of us forget that. We forget that it's the highlight reel and we compare ourselves and then we make it mean something negative about us. And that's what comparisonitis is. It's unhealthy, toxic comparison, which we make mean something about ourselves, like we're less than, we're not good enough, or we're not smart enough, or we're not pretty enough or skinny enough or whatever. So that's what comparisonitis is. And that was the inspiration for writing it.
I love that story. And I can definitely relate to that story because, you know, as you said, social media, you're looking and it's easy to go from inspiration to comparison. It happens in a split second. You don't even realize that you're doing it. And another story that you shared in there was just how you know, at first you're like, oh, you're happy for them. And then you start feeling like, well, I'll never be that great and I'm not enough. And I think a lot of people can relate to that because you want to be happy for another person, but you can't help but compare yourself. So literally I've highlighted this book. Every chapter in this book is so good. And I want to kind of go through each one. because you even give signs and symptoms of if you are suffering from comparisonitis. Can you share some of those with people? Because some people might be in denial, like, I don't really compare myself. I'm genuinely happy for everyone in my life. And sure, yeah, I don't think this applies to me.
Yeah, so I do give a lot of different signs and symptoms in the book, and I'll just give a few for people. One of the biggest ones is that negative self-talk. That I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not successful enough, I'll never meet the guy, I'll never get out of debt. If you have that, I call that the inner mean girl. If you have that inner critic voice inside your head, that is an indicator that you might be suffering from comparisonitis, because you wouldn't have those thoughts if you weren't comparing yourself to someone else. So if you have those thoughts in your head going around, just know it's okay. You're not abnormal. A lot of us have those thoughts, and that's okay. But you don't have to let them run and ruin and control your life. Your true self, your true essence can be in the driver's seat of your life. And I talk about that in the book. So one of the biggest things is that toxic negative self-talk. Another one that's quite common is feeling behind. That, everyone's getting married. Everyone's already doing this. Everyone's already bought their dream home. Everyone's doing, that feeling like I'm behind. That is kind of like another indicator that you might be suffering from comparisonitis. So there's two of them for you.
I love that. And I definitely can relate to both of those. I've definitely compared myself. I've definitely felt like, I'm behind, especially when it comes to like marriage and kids. And I'm just like, and then you have the pressure from your parents, and then you have pressure from, people around you. Then you get the question, so you're not married yet, or you haven't had kids yet. And it's just hard. It's really tough. So kind of give us your cure. Like, I know you talk about it in the book, but can you share it with those listening? Because I know everyone's going to be running out to grab the book after this conversation, but can you just kind of share, like, what is your idea of how we can, after we acknowledge, like, okay, this is a problem, I've been diagnosed, Melissa has diagnosed me. How do people go about making a change in their life?
Yeah. So in the book, I give a 4-step technique called the A.C.E.S technique. And the A.C.E.S technique means, it stands for, I'll tell you the acronym in a second, but basically it's about feeling ace again. Because when you compare yourself to someone else, you don't feel ace. You feel really down about yourself. You feel really crappy about yourself. And that's when you can spiral into the toxic negative self-talk. So the A.C.E.S technique is designed to help you come out of comparisonitis and help you feel ace again. So the first letter A stands for awareness. We have to become aware of when and where we compare ourselves to other people. So what are our triggers? Maybe even write them down. Get really clear on what triggers you to compare, because everyone's different. For some people, it might be social media. For some people, it might be a particular friend or a cousin or someone in their life. It might be a celebrity. Who knows? So we need to get clear on what triggers us to spiral into comparisonitis. So become aware. And once you're aware of something, you can then transform it. You can then change it. But when you're not aware, when you don't know what you don't know, you can't change it. So once you know what you know, you can then change it and transform it and, turn into the person that you want to be. So awareness is key. And what I would do is I would write down all the areas that I compare myself. So say it's, I often compare myself to Fitspo models on Instagram, or I compare myself to Koya's incredible yoga poses, or, whatever it is. just get really clear on what your triggers are and what areas you compare. That's the first step. It's looking at it. We got to look at it. We got to look at the trigger so then we can transform it. The next one is C, and that stands for choosing a different path. Mm-hmm. So often when we struggle with comparison, we spiral into this toxic, unhealthy, I'm not good enough. And then we almost go and seek evidence. See, Koya can do that pose, and that person can do that pose, and that person can do that pose. And we choose to spiral into that negative, toxic comparisonitis, even if we're not totally aware of it. It might just be like unconsciously we're doing it. So we've got to choose a different path. And the path that we're going to choose is to see that person, and instead of compare, we're going to use it as inspiration and motivation. So, that's what I do. I see New York Times bestselling authors and I go, yes, that's the path that I want to go, and I can do that. I look at you with your leg up around here and twisted around here, and I go, that is my goals. That is my goals, or whether it's, family goals or relationship goals or financial. So choosing a different path. Don't go down the toxic comparison path. Choose to be motivated and inspired by that person. Choose that path instead. And then the third one, E, stands for eliminate. So what we want to do, sometimes when we're really triggered, a good thing to do is eliminate that trigger for the moment. This isn't about spiritually bypassing or anything. If you get really, really triggered by someone on social media, you can just mute their account for a little while, just until you feel really good within yourself again. It's like a wound. If you keep scratching it, it's going to keep bleeding. So we just want to let it heal, not completely avoid and spiritually bypass. We just want to give it some space to heal. And if you can't eliminate, you could exit the situation. Say you're at a dinner party and everyone's talking about their latest dates and boyfriends and amazing relationships, and that's an area where you usually compare yourself. You can just go to the bathroom, just take a minute to go to the bathroom, and say you've just broken up with your partner and it's triggering you and you're feeling upset. Just go for a little walk or something. You don't have to sit there and expose yourself to that if it doesn't feel good for you. Just do what feels right for you. Or you can just simply exhale, taking in a really deep breath. And just exhale. And I share this story in the book that, it took 18 months to conceive my beautiful daughter, who's just sitting here, and I'm pushing her on the little bouncer next to me. Aww. And she's just chilling. And I share in the book that I had some of my best friends that, we were like, let's get pregnant together. Let's get pregnant together. And we all, that was our intention. And then they got pregnant and I didn't. And that was really hard for me. Not only because we'd kind of planned to do it at the same time, but, here I am still going month after month after month. And when they would tell me their beautiful, happy news, I couldn't eliminate them and I couldn't exit the situation. So I just took a deep breath and just exhaled and reminded myself that everything's always unfolding the way that it's supposed to. And the universe has a divine timeline for me and my life events. And I just need to keep showing up as the best version of myself and not get in the way of that. And that took me a little while to remember, but I got there and it was a beautiful thing. And so that's the E. And then the fourth letter, S, stands for shifting your state. So once we have done those things, We want to shake that energy out, that toxic comparison energy. Dance, dive in the ocean, splash water on your face, jump up and down, shake your body, do whatever you've got to do to just shift that energy in your body and raise the vibration in your cells. So that's the A.C.E.S technique. And that's what I used when I was really knee deep in comparisonitis, and what I still whip out today. And it was a technique that I shared with my clients and my friends, and they loved it so much that they were like, you have to write a book and share all of these tools and tips and techniques with everyone. And I just want to say that, comparison is something that every single person deals with, and at different varying degrees. And men as well. So many men struggle with it as well. And you don't have to let this run and ruin your life. You don't have to let it control your life. And when you remember the truth of who you are, which is that you are the most magical, unique, special being, there's no need to compare yourself to anyone else. And you can use your comparison as motivation and inspiration, which is what I do now. Whenever I see someone doing something great, I use it as motivation and inspiration and fuel for my own dreams and goals.
That is absolutely beautiful. And thanks so much for sharing that very authentic story about your own pregnancy journey, because I think there are a lot of times where it's like your job or your family, you plan these things. And, even though you're like, okay, I'm going to do the thing with social media and I'm going to, choose inspiration over, being intimidated, which is something I say all the time, inspiration over intimidation, because it's easy to start feeling less than when you see someone accomplishing more. So I want to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that story, because I feel like it is real. And I feel like a lot of people feel it in the different areas. Like you said, like, I'm not making enough money. I'm not making the career advances. So what really helped you? Because I know you said you exhaled, but again, you were trying month after month after month, and your friends were having this experience and you still weren't, but you were still trying. So was it just like it finally happened for you, or were you able to stop comparing before you actually had your child?
I was able to stop comparing and come to a place of peace within myself and trust that, and I talk about this in the book, like trusting that everything is always unfolding the way it's supposed to. And when we truly remember that, there is no need to compare. If someone's doing something in their career, or someone's buying the house or getting married or having the baby or going on these holidays, when you remember that you're on your own path, your life, you've got your own path. We need to put on those blinkers, those horse blinders that they have. And we just need to stay on our own path. We all have the most beautiful path laid out before us. And we just need to stay on our own path and not look left and right and compare ourselves to what Sally's doing or Melissa's doing or Koya's doing. We need to just stay in our own path and remember that everything in our life's journey is happening for our highest good, for our evolution. And I got to that place within myself, which was so beautiful. And then literally the month later, I was pregnant. I fully surrendered.
Yeah.
And I went and saw a healer, a shamanic healer, and I had this huge healing. And I've got goosebumps just even thinking about it. I fully surrendered and I purged and I cried. And then the next month I was pregnant, and I just was like, isn't the universe hilarious?
Yes. I love that you shared that, though, because I think it's something to have a purge and have a cleanse. It's something that I really highly, highly, highly suggest for people to do, whether it be crying, like you said, dancing, submerging yourself in water. So can you talk a little bit more about the release and the releasing? I know you do a lot of releasing techniques and talk about, things that are happening in your body and the body blues and things like that. Can you talk a little bit more about the somatic experiences that you really found impactful in your life in releasing toxic patterning and toxic thoughts?
Yeah, because this is so important, because you can do a lot of the emotional work, and that is so important. When we are on this journey, we've got to do the emotional work. We've got to do the talk therapy or whatever it is, the verbal releasing, and we have to do the body work, because experiences get stored in our cells. Mm-hmm. So we need to do that body work, and whether that is just shaking it out, or, getting some physical body work, like with a healer, whether it's massage or, I've been on the massage table once before, and she pressed on a spot on my abdomen and I just burst into tears. And she said to me, "What happened when you were 6 with your mum?" And I was like, what do you talk, like, what do you mean? Like, how did you know, something like that. So, getting some body work is so important. Yeah. Because we hold trauma and experiences in our cells. So some sort of body work, whatever feels good for you, kinesiology, things like that. They're all really powerful tools. Massage, kinesiology, even like going to the chiro or acupuncture, osteos, I know in LA, you've got the human garage, like going there and doing some body work. There's so many different things that you can do. And you can do it on your own too, just by shaking it out. Crying is a beautiful way to purge. Yeah. So do whatever feels good and true for you.
I love that. I always tell people crying is pain leaving the body. So let those tears out no matter what. And 100% agree with that the more that and I read that book, and I don't know if you read the book, The Body Keeps Score. And I feel like that's such a good guide as well to like really understand that trauma, it needs a way out. It needs a way to release. And I love the story of you saying, I went to a healer. And the fact that you said, I've been comparing my whole life, and being able to release that energy of comparing, release that energy of wanting so bad. I really love your story of how that created space in your life for what you needed to pour through. So that's amazing.
With everything going on in the world, now is a perfect time to pour into yourself. If you've been thinking about joining the wellness community and learning more about your health and wellness and how to improve the well-being of others, then the Get Loved Up Holistic Health and Yoga Teacher Training is for you. We have a variety of offerings, from the 100 hour to get a taste of how holistic health and yoga can bless your life, and the 200 to 500 hours to deep dive into the study of how meditation, breathwork, yoga, and mindful living can transform your health and the health of our world. Go to koyawebb.com/YTT for more details. I'll see you there.
And now you have your baby girl. So let's get, I know you talk about parenthood and stuff in the book, but this is before you became a mom, right?
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that and how talking about it before parenthood and now being in it, like I see you laughing like, oh my goodness.
Okay. So literally last week, one of my girlfriends came over, and I knew she was coming over, and I was going to gift her Comparisonitis. So I had wrote a letter in there for her and signed it for her and wrote her a little love note. And so it was sitting on my kitchen bench, and we were sitting there having a cup of tea, and my beautiful daughter was in my arms and I was feeding her. And when you are a new mom, you are so much more emotional and sensitive, because your senses are so much more heightened, so that you can like hear your baby cry and things like that. And then also, you might be more sensitive because you're getting up more times in the night as well. So my senses are on overload, right? And I had been up a few times that night, and I turned to my friend and she said something to me, and I just burst into tears. And then I said, and I was telling her another friend, and I said, but so-and-so's baby sleeps all the way through the night. And we both burst out laughing. And she said, you need to reread your own book. And I was like, I do need to reread my own book, because I was literally just comparing. I was like, but her baby sleeps through the night the whole way. Like, I don't understand. What do you mean? Like 7 till 7? And I was comparing myself, and it didn't feel good within my body. And we both burst out laughing at the same time, because the book was sitting on the table, and she said, here, you need to reread it again. So, there's 4 main areas where we compare a lot. When I surveyed my audience and did a lot of research, and one of them is parenting and pregnancy, like that whole world, career and finances. Another one is body image. It's a big one, looks and body image. And that's something that so many people struggle with, the body image, especially on social media. With social media, we grew up where we didn't have phones and social media, and the generations now, they are being exposed to social media at a lot younger age than we were. And so we need to not only have these tools for ourselves, but so we can help our children and our nieces and our, younger people, because they don't have the tools and they're not going to be talking about this in schools. And, a lot of the research that I did whilst researching this book told me that, comparison can lead to anxiety, depression, panic attacks, and, even suicidal thoughts. Or, my friend, she took her own life, which is just the most extreme case. And we don't want anyone to deal with any of those things. We know after what we've been through, our mental health is just as important as our physical health. And we need to take care of our mental health. And suffering from comparisonitis is not something that you have to do alone. And that's why I wrote this book. I wanted to give people the tools and techniques. So yes, and then the fourth big area that people really struggle with is relationships. So am I single, or they're married, or I'm not married? That's another big area that people often slide into comparisonitis about.
Absolutely. And I think those are really great areas to look at, because I can look at each one of those areas and see where I've compared myself and see where I've always moved out. And I love how you compare it to, like, when you start loving yourself more, you start comparing less. And I really think that's really a really important point, because I truly believe that we're all one. And with oneness, it's like, I can enjoy you having a baby and you and your motherhood, and you can enjoy your friends. And when you move into a space of love versus fear, saying, oh, I'm never going to have that, or I can't have that, or I'll never be good at or not good enough, into the space of love, then you automatically eliminate the comparison. What are your thoughts on, shifting the energy from fear to love and from comparison to love, and how that can really help people get in alignment with their truth?
One of my favorite mantras is choose love instead of fear. Mm-hmm. I say that in multiple situations throughout my day. Like, am I choosing love right now, or am I choosing fear? And you can literally choose love over fear in every moment. In every single moment. And when you choose love, you are not choosing comparison. You're not choosing your inner critic. You're not choosing fear. So if you just walk through your day with the intention to always choose love in every moment, then you are on your path. You're on your true path. And that goes for every area of your life, your relationships, your career, how you move your body. Are you moving your body from a place of love, or are you moving your body out of fear? Are you, and hatred? You know, a lot of people go to the gym and they flog their body because they maybe ate too many pieces of chocolate yesterday and they've got to punish themselves, you know? And you can eat from a place of love. Are you eating because you want to nourish your temple, or are you eating because you are limiting, you know, are you limiting yourself for you know, again, coming back to that punishing. So everything that we do in our life can come from a place of love. And it's our responsibility to tune inward and make sure that we're always choosing love. Always. I know for me, a lot of my life I spent choosing fear. Everything I did was from that place of fear. I moved my body from a place of fear. I ate from a place of fear. I chose relationships from a place of fear because I didn't want to be alone. I did work from a place of fear because I just needed the money. Every single area was from fear. And that's because I forgot the truth. And the truth is that we can do everything from a place of love. You can wash the dishes from a place of love and gratitude, or you can wash the dishes from that place of fear and anger and resentment that why do you have to do them? Why can't your roommate or your partner do them? You can take out the trash from a place of love. Grateful that you have things to put in the trash. You know, or you can take it out from a place of fear and anger and resentment. Everything is a choice, and it comes back to that internal decision to choose love instead of fear.
I love that. I just got a bracelet made for my friend Chris, and I had him put choose love on it. And I have shirts that says choose love because I 100% agree that every moment of the day you have to ask yourself, am I choosing love? Whenever you find yourself in a bad mood, in a gray area, in a funk, ask yourself, are you choosing love? And a lot of time it goes back to comparison these days because of the news, the TV, you know, even with the world opening up, it's like vaccines or no vaccine, mask or no mask. Should I see people or not? And it's just like, well, like you said, they are, so I guess I should too. Can I, you know, and it's just this, this again, continued comparison. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about the world and how the world is shifting and changing. And I know our last conversation on your podcast, it was in the middle of just, you know, this world reckoning of racial justice and things like that. And, you know, some people are doing the work and some people are, and it's like, I know a lot of people are like, am I doing enough work? And so when it comes to, because we talked about parenting and we talked about social media a lot, but when it comes to your work in the world, when it comes to social justice in your career, what do you feel are places people are comparing most, and what is your advice to them?
Oh my goodness. Do you know, I think about this. Imagine if everyone in this world chose love instead of fear. Imagine where we would be and the difference that would make on every level if we all just, or even if we all just chose love one more time in the day when we would choose fear instead, when we would usually, choose fear instead. So imagine the repercussions of that on a physical level, and then also on an energetic and a spiritual level, like what that would do, and I've got full goosebumps, like what that would do to the planet, that energy. Oh gosh, like I dream of that. I dream of that because there's so much going on in the world right now. And educate yourself 100%, but you don't need to get caught up in the story and the drama. There's no point. Like the world isn't going to benefit from you getting caught up in the drama and the story. The world is going to benefit from you being proactive and using your voice from that place of love. And that doesn't mean you can't have passion and you can't feel, fiery behind what you want to share. It just means that that the deep core essence of what you are sharing is from that beautiful place of love. And I want to encourage everyone listening to just try one thing today. And, maybe you would usually choose fear in a situation, like try choosing love instead and just see how that feels in your body and watch how it affects the people around you. I know in my home, like the whole energy of the home shifts if I'm in a bad mood or if I'm choosing fear. Like it affects my whole family. And that's a big responsibility, but it's also, really inspiring, especially with children. They tune into your energy. They tune into your energy. If you're frantic, if you're stressed, if you're angry, if you're resentful, they're going to tune into that. And then imagine that on like a larger scale, like on a global scale. So the best thing that we can do is make sure we're attending to what's going on in the four walls of our home and then in our communities and then so our physical community and then our digital communities. And if we all just take responsibility and make sure that we are choosing love as many times as we can throughout the day, then on a global scale, we're going to make such a difference and such an impact in the world.
I absolutely love that and think that's brilliant advice. And I love that you took it there because I normally ask people if they could shape the world in any way, what would it look like? And you literally answered it without me asking the question, like, if everyone choose love, the world would be a much more beautiful place to live. And I 100% agree, like love versus comparison, love versus judgment, compassion versus fear, like all of those opportunities to choose love. I think when we don't, we are missing the opportunities to come into alignment with the divine and to come into alignment with our true purpose, which is to continue to choose love as we express, as we go throughout our everyday. So I think we're so aligned with that. And I just want to do like a little quick round at the end. I know you got to get back to mommy world. And thank you so much for taking this podcast in the middle of your maternity leave, kind of.
Pleasure.
I mean, it's so exciting to really find someone in the middle of what you're talking about. I mean, you're balancing entrepreneurship with being a super mom and just all of those things. So what have been some of your favorite books or podcasts that have helped you through this time?
About balancing both?
Or just period. Just it could be like a book on comedy. You're like, you know what? This just helps my nerves and helps me get out of my head.
Do you know what? I have done books. Oh, there's so many incredible books, so many incredible podcasts out there. What are some amazing books? Do you know what? I just want to say this. I am so glad that I did a lot of inner work before I had a baby. I am really glad that I did that. And I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but I'm really glad I did that because it's allowed me to have a really beautiful experience with her and to feel grateful for all of the moments. And that doesn't mean that I don't get tired. That's just part of being human. Sometimes we get tired, but it's just made me so much more grateful. And I think whatever allows you to feel in alignment with your truth, then do that. I think the biggest thing for me during this time to help me feel sane and happy and healthy is being in nature. And I know a lot of people didn't get a lot of that last year because of the lockdowns, but it's made me appreciate it even more and the benefits of it even more. So, meditating and being in nature, these things have helped me so much. And yes, there's so many incredible books and podcasts, but I think Mama Nature has been like the biggest healer and teacher for me.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, we just give books. Like there's so many great books, and I feel like I've gotten so many good recommendations for books and podcasts that I have never heard of before, asking people like, what has been your favorite one? But yeah, that's what we ask that at the end. And I think that when it comes to food and eating, I know a lot of mothers say they have different cravings for things that are kind of not common. Have you had a craving during your motherhood that it wasn't before?
Not so much motherhood, but in your pregnancy, yes. Mm-hmm. Like when you're pregnant, you have crazy cravings sometimes. What was I craving? Like very just plain things. Hummus. I craved hummus. That's right. Yeah, that was definitely one thing that I craved. But not so much now that she's here, more in the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love hummus. I love chickpeas, period. I think I eat a lot.
Oh my God.
Almost
they're the best. Chickpea, anything.
Yes, agreed. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to leave us with that you want to talk about before we sign off here?
I just want to remind everyone listening that when you remember the truth of who you are, which is that you are a magical stardust being and you are unique, you are perfect just the way you are. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone else. You are so special just as you are. And we're all here because we matter. You are a miracle, which is why we're all here. We're all miracles. And you wouldn't be here if you weren't. And so remember that. Remember that you are a miracle and that you're here, which means you matter. And your voice matters, your mission matters, and you don't need to compare yourself anymore.
So true. So beautifully said and so very true. And where can people find you?
Okay, so come to my website. That's melissaambrosini.com. And my podcast is the Melissa Ambrosini Show, and on Instagram at Melissa Ambrosini. And come and tell me on Instagram. Send me a DM. I check my DMs. Send me a DM and tell me what one thing you got out of this episode from Koya and I. I would love to hear. I absolutely love hearing what people get from the episodes or the interviews that I do and the episodes that I do on my show, because it really does inspire me. And also, it's really great when you listen to something or you read a book. When you reflect on what you got out of it, it helps you embed the learnings even more. So not only do I want to hear what you get out of it, but it's also good for you to stop and reflect on what you got out of it so that you can deeply embed your learnings.
So true. So very true. And everyone, definitely, if anything that we talked about during this session inspired you, definitely go and pick up a copy of her book, Comparisonitis. I have highlighted and marked it up. And it's just a fun book to really check in with yourself and then do the work to be mindful of the ways in which you compare yourself and ways in which you can also free yourself from comparison. So thank you so much, Melissa. I really appreciate you being on the show. And thank all of you out there. Your feedback, your reviews are so amazing. They make me smile every single day. And your feedback allows me to bring amazing guests like Melissa on the show. So thank you for being part of this Get Loved Up community. If you have any questions questions, if you have any requests for guests that you want me to bring on next, please let me know, koya@koyawebb.com. And when you leave a review, take a screenshot of it and email me, koya@koyawebb.com, and we have a little gift for you. Until next time, love yourself, love others, and love the world. One day at a time, one breath at a time. Peace and love.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you for being part of the Get Loved Up community. I like to share topics and people making a positive impact in the world, and your feedback means the world to me. If you haven't already left a review, please leave a 5-star review and let me know what you want to hear more of on the show. I'm here for you, and together we're making the world a better place, one day at a time, one show at a time. Thank you for listening.